Hello, everyone. I am now here with Carmel, my good friend Carmel, and thank you for joining us, Carmel. Uh, Can you tell me a little bit about your story and why you decided to join this book, Emergence?
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh,
I was, as you know, sitting on the sideline for quite some time when I saw uh, this book coming out. I thought, no, I've told my story. In extraordinary. I don't need to share anymore. And then as I saw the authors coming in and they're powerhouse women, and I still thought at that time, wow, like they're not in my league. The caliber of these women is just amazing. And then hearing their stories, getting to know them a little bit better, and I thought, I do actually have more to my story. It's not just one chapter and that's it. There's what happens afterwards. So I did jump on board eventually. And yeah, it's just been an amazing experience. And I'm really excited to share the space with these women and share the next chapter of the journey.
so what is the next chapter for you? Tell us a little bit about your story and about the marble theory. So tell the audience if they haven't had a chance to read your story yet, because we're recording this a couple of weeks before launch, but hopefully if they're coming to this page, they have picked up a book and they're anticipating reading your story. So can you share a little bit about what it is that you share in this chapter?
In this chapter. So my story is a coming of age story. And when we think of the term coming of age, we think of teenagers becoming adults. But I think as we grow, get older, we have more coming of age stories. It's not just, okay, we're an adult now and that's it. We're always evolving, always growing and learning through our experiences. And I feel like there needs to be a light shone on that, because people often get into maybe like a situation or a relationship could end, or you become a mum for the first time, or you have a major medical diagnosis, or something major happens in your life and you're looking at your life and who you are, and you're not quite sure who you are anymore. So my story is the coming of age story. It's about rediscovering who I am as a person, and what my life looks like now, uh, after my MS diagnosis in 2021. So yeah, it's a transformational story, as all the stories in this book are. I'm so excited to read these stories of other women.
Yeah.
And so the marble theory you were talking about is marble is a stone of possibility. And I am both the stone and the master carver. So we create our own lives, and we shape our own lives. And so when we understand that, we take back our power and can direct our life into any direction that we want to go.
Yeah. Kind of like my tagline of you are the author of your life, and it's not just your book, not just your story, but it's underneath that it's about a shift in perspective, and we might not get to choose our experiences or our circumstances or our diagnosis or the things that happen to us, but we can always choose what narrative and what lens we look through. And I think that's kind of a similar theory to your marble theory.
Yeah.
Um, what would be if you were if you could choose a key message or a gold nugget that the reader can take from your story, what would that be?
I think that wherever you're starting from is not the end point. So you might be in a really dark place or struggling with something, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be there forever.
Mm.
It's the starting point,
Yeah,
for you. And I think once you do have that moment of enlightenment, that you don't have to be here forever, and you do have that choice. That you can move forward and create your own life, as you said just before, be the author
Yeah.
of your own life.
Yeah. This too shall pass with through everything,
Mm-hmm.
and even when you have something major happen, it it always passes and it always works out. It always, even the worst of the worst, it somehow you're taken on a path of like this is your journey, and it always works out as it's meant to. It might not be how we want it to be, or how we envisioned for our life, but if we can shift our perspective around how like from a deep core inner peace. um yeah, I really love that. So
Mm-hmm.
how has this journey or writing the story in this book transformed you? We always talk about, I always talk about, what's the transformation for the reader? That's where we start. We look at the message for the reader, but underlying and through the process, there's a transformation that happens for the author. So what has that been for you?
Similar to what I said before about the starting point, you go through whatever you're going through, and then you don't automatically finish. It's like this roller coaster or the non-linear healing. It's always something that you're going through. And I think for me, accepting that it's not always going to be roses, it will be in the end, but you're not always, how do I explain this?
Meant to either. It's not meant to always be roses. That's the
No.
polarity of life.
Yes, yeah. And thinking that, okay, I'm having a really good day, I must be fine now. Because healing and grief is not like that. It's sort of
Yeah.
that up and down, excuse me, that up and down. And when I had written this story and I was coming out of the dark place and moving forward, and then you hit a little snag and you think, but I've just done all this work. Why am I
Yes.
back here? Why am I still feeling like this?
Yeah.
But it's a journey. It's never just going to be, from point A to point B. But that's life. That's, you have to take it. I think the important thing though is when you have been in that dark place, you recognize things a lot quicker and a lot
Mhm.
earlier. So if you hit a not so great day, you can look at it and go, okay, well, I'm not back at the start. I'm way further than I was, but I need to work through this now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think the journey and all the experience that you take with you stays with you. So, and I think that's something else that people need to remember. You're not starting from the very start. You're bringing all that wisdom and experience with you, and you've got this. You might not think on the day that you do, but you definitely do.
Yeah, and I think when talking about the polarity of life, after every expansion, automatically it's the natural cycle. There is always a contraction. And when we can be aware of that and remember that, oh, this is, I've just had a mass, and it happens every single time that we have something wonderful and big. And like, think about the lead up to a big event like your wedding or the birth of your baby or something big that you've been excited, like a holiday even, something that you've been excited about, and then you come home from the holiday or the wedding's over, or like there's a contraction. You're like, well, what now?
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same with life. Like um, people always forget that though. They forget, oh, there's because they're not consciously aware of the expansion and the contraction. But if you're aware of it, and
Mhm,
this is what I say to my clients all the time, is that remember, you've just had this massive expansion. It's a natural cycle to now go
mhm,
through the contraction. But knowing that, it eases the process, and it's like the transformation of a butterfly and her metamorphosis into the chrysalis into the butterfly. They have to go through a massive, horrible experience to come out the other side with these beautiful wings. And it's just like that's the cycle of life, though.
yeah.
And so when you've like hit the snag, knowing that oh, but there's another contraction. Oh, there's another expansion just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I think having that awareness about every part of life um, has really helped me on my journey as well. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. I'm even though I've just had this amazing thing happen, now I'm feeling like rubbish. That's okay because that's just the natural cycle of life. Um, so yeah, I think that's something that's a really like it's and it's quite funny that because there's a whole um because this book was it's kind of to me like the chrysalis and I had the magazine, the Chrysalis, and this book is kind of like its own version of what that was going to be. And when I thought of it, I was almost going to call it Chrysalis, but it's more of like the emergence of what happens after that, the darkness and being in that metamorphosis. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and everyone who I've spoken to in some way has spoken about the transformation process of like what this book has almost been like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I didn't expect it was going to be like this, but in a most like, amazing way, sharing your
Yeah.
story. It's always it's always so healing, but
Mm-hmm.
in unexpected ways. Like
Yes,
you can't even I guess predict how it's going to feel. So
that's right.
are you excited? Are you excited to have that book in your hand?
Yes, very much so. I've sort of been calm up until now, and then I put up a post on Facebook today, and it's like 2 weeks. I'm like, no, literally 2 weeks. Yeah, it's come around so quickly. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, it's
doesn't feel
amazing.
like it, but the last few weeks it's felt like, oh wow, yeah, this is really happening again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, thank you so much for joining me.
Okay, thank
Do
you.
you do you have any last words of wisdom and or where well people will be able to find you through the links in the book and on this page, but where is your favorite place to hang out? Is it Facebook, Instagram? Where can they connect with
Probably,
you easiest?
probably Facebook's my first and foremost.
Yeah, okay. So go and connect with Carmel, read her chapter, reach out to her and see where the journey takes her because you never know. Like she might have that next chapter or
Hmm.
the next book. Big
Never know.
book. Thank you so much for joining me and have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.